Yeah.
What's happening, everybody? I'm back at you again with another movie review, and today I will be talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, directed by Jeff Rowe, starring Mika Abbey, Shaman Brown Jr., Nicholas Cantu, Brady Noon, Hannibal Buress, Rose Byrne, John Cena, Jackie Chan, Ice Cube, and Ayo Edebiri, and many, many others that I can't even fully get into right now because there's just so many big names in this cast, and obviously another animated Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies, and yet again another film for this franchise, another adaptation. But I was very hopeful about this one because obviously the director, Jeff Rowe, he was a co-director and co-writer on The Mitchells vs. the Machines, and that was one of the best animated films of that year when it came out. And also Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg are also involved in the screenplay, so, you know, maybe trying to recapture a bit of that Superbad magic, perhaps. But there was a lot to look forward to going into this movie. And just the animation style, obviously following in the footsteps of films like Spider-Man Into and Across the Spider-Verse, and pushing animation forward in a really cool and new way. I really love what's happening with animation now because I feel like we're finally getting so much that's unique and different. We aren't stuck in that stagnant 15-year or more period or so where basically we're just getting CG animated films and then a few, you know, outliers in between. No, we're getting really beautiful blends and mixes of 2D and 3D and so much more in between. And I think we've really hit a new age of animation. Please mark my words on that because I really think the 20s is going to be a really, really creative and rejuvenating decade for animation. And I think films like this really prove that because look, I'll be honest, I'm no Ninja Turtles purist, okay? I saw the first one from the 90s. I thought it was the campiest, you know, goofiest thing I've ever seen in my life. It's just a ridiculous movie. And I've seen some of them when I was, like, younger, but I don't really have much of a recollection of, you know, being able to critique them in any way, shape, or form. But this one, I think it's safe to say this probably is the best TMNT film easily, and I know there'll be some, you know, people, oh well, they changed this and they changed that. Like, who cares? I honestly think it works well enough for the story, and they're taking a different approach with that. That's something that's fine with me. I don't think it ruins the essence of who these characters are. And speaking of which, I know this is a point everybody has belabored to death, but the fact that they're actually voiced by teenagers for the first time and made to act like teenagers, I think is why this film works so well, because you understand the dynamic between these four turtles, these four mutant turtles, and, you know, they just want to be in the real world. They want to be with people who are like them. Well, not like them, but, you know, of a like mind, and mingling in the human world and enjoying movies. And, you know, anything any regular teenager would want to do, right? And I think they capture it perfectly. The humor, the innocence, just that sense of naivete that you would have being a teenager at that age. And I think it plays into so many great gags in this film as well. And this is a really, really funny film. I think the comedy definitely delivers, maybe over-delivers, but we'll get into that. And I just think the voice work here is absolutely exceptional from top to bottom, like all the ones I mentioned. The kids who voiced the four brothers, they're really great. And as I said, like, they're dynamic. It feels very genuine. It feels very organic, like you would need for this type of movie with these characters. But Jackie Chan as Splinter, I think is so great. You know, I think Ice Cube even said he deserves an Oscar nomination. So I won't go that far, but I think Jackie Chan, obviously such a cinematic legend at this point, lending his voice to, you know, their father. It's a very interesting role for Jackie Chan, but I think he brings a lot of heart and humanity. And I think Splinter's story is really the most intriguing of the entire film, and the way they introduce his character as well. Ice Cube is the villain, Superfly, in here, I think is absolutely killer. Brings that sense of swagger that we all know from Ice Cube, and just an extreme amount of exuding confidence. as you'd expect, and I think he works very, very well off of our heroes and his own gang of characters that he has, voiced by, Rose Byrne, and of course Seth Rogen and Paul Rudd is definitely a standout in here as well. But yeah, I think more than anything, the animation is beautiful. It really does set itself apart from films like the Spider-Verse series. And just the way they're like jumping across buildings and such, oh my goodness, I just think basking in the glow of this animation is really why I was loving a lot of this movie, because it's just so much damn fun from top to bottom. I don't think there's hardly a dull moment. There are a few moments that I don't think work entirely well. And also April O'Neil, played by Ayo Edebiri, I think is absolutely a great portrayal of the character and a very different approach. I mean, look, she's not Megan Fox this time around, right? And that's so cool because they kind of put her on the same level as the Turtles. They age her down a bit. And really, she has her own character arc that she's going through throughout the story as well, with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And that contrast between her and the Turtles, I think, is quite brilliant, especially putting them in a high school setting. And I think she's really, really great, brings a lot to this role, and maybe one of the most interesting portrayals of the character to date, as you could say, for almost every element of this film. I mean, it's just, as I said, the soundtrack is awesome. Oh my goodness. You got De La Soul, you got Tribe Called Quest. I mean, how can you go wrong? It's just 90s hip-hop and a bunch of other stuff mixed between. And I have to say, the score from Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, oh my goodness, like, I don't usually go out of my way to listen to movie scores unless it's John Williams, but, like, I really want to hear the score because just the use of these glitchy industrial synths throughout the entire soundtrack really make it one of the most standout scores of the entire year. I think it deserves an Oscar nomination, really even more so than some other films that I have seen this year, probably up there with Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 as the best score of the year. I mean, these guys keep delivering over and over and over again, and I can't wait to listen to the score because it really is absolutely incredible. Maybe one of their best to date. I think it's very much in line more with Nine Inch Nails than it is, with Social Network or Soul or anything like that. It really is a killer score, and I have to give those guys credit. But really, I think this film succeeds in a lot of ways because it has the heart that is necessary for this type of story. But I do feel at a certain point the humor kind of undermines a lot of the film when they could have been taking more character moments a bit more seriously and really fleshing them out in a beautiful way. I think it kind of undermines it, and that's a little bit sad because I think I would have absolutely loved this movie if it weren't for that. And the fact, the third act, it's cool, but I think it feels, I don't want to say it feels rushed, I wouldn't quite say that, but just the build up to it I wasn't necessarily as into as much as the first half of the film, just these guys messing around and having a good time, discovering the real world firsthand. But regardless, I really do think that this is an awesome start to, this new rebooted Turtles franchise, and we already got a sequel, and it was hinted at in the credit scene, so please stay tuned for the middle of the credits. Nothing at the end, but you definitely have to stick around. And look, I cannot wait to see a sequel. I will be there opening weekend when that comes out for sure. And as it stands, I'm going to give Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem an 8 out of 10. This is a really, really good animated film. One of the best of the year, I would even say. And I think deserves an Oscar nomination for Best Animated Feature at the very least. This is really an incredible piece of work. Could have done a little bit better in, some of the writing department, but regardless, it's still an insanely funny, insanely entertaining, very clever, really great action too, I must say, the way they animated the action sequences. It's just a really, really fun time. I don't know if this is for super young kids, but definitely bring your kids along. You're going to have a good time in the theater. This isn't just for the children. I think adults will really appreciate it as well, because I know I certainly did. So yeah, guys, let me know what you thought of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem in the comments down below, and let me know. But yeah, I obviously have to mention that, speaking of animation, as I alluded to earlier, this being a great decade for those films, I'm also going to do a review of the first Slam Dunk. Very excited to talk about that one. I'm sure not all of you have seen it, but yet again, another cool film that I can't wait to get into very, very soon. And yeah, guys, please smash the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you have not been here yet. What are you doing? I'd appreciate the support if you got on here and came along with us and really got into these movie reviews that I'm going to be pummeling out over the next few months and then beyond. Really a lot of great stuff still coming down the line for you guys. And once again, I want to thank you for clicking on this video and sticking with me to hear my thoughts on this film. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video, guys.